The Wyfold Challenge Cup now underway, and Thames A versus Thames B in that order. Thames A on your left, Thames B on your right, and yet another race where we've got club mates racing against one another, Greg.
We have them racing against each other, and we could have some conversations in the cafe in Putney after this one if the B crew get any closer to actually causing a little clash here. They've come off the station a little bit. It's the B crew, as we look on the right of the picture on the Buck station. The A crew thought, let's avoid this, let's just steer ourselves just a little bit away because we don't want this to turn into a dust-up of clashing blades.
Well, do you know what, actually, Greg? I watched the Thames A crew race yesterday, and the crew they were racing came right into their station, and actually James Reader in the 2 seat put his hand up whilst racing at this point in the race. It was all caught on video, very impressive. They kept going, and they went on obviously to win and come through into this Thursday race, but if the B crew would have come any closer, he might have happened to be sort of doing his circus tricks again.
Well, again, I guess the idea there to mark it in the umpire's mind, to say this was the point where they steered at us, this is the point where we had to take evasive action. But I think it was probably a good call from the A crew on the far side of the pitch to take that evasive action. They just want this to be a clean race. They want this to be a fair fight, because I imagine they think they're going to have the better of their B crew.
And we're going to jump now to just past the 3/4 mile, and I mean, Thames A aren't, again, they're not embarrassing the B crew. The B crew are sticking with them, but I think efficiency very apparent here as they come in towards Remenham, where they're going to get a huge roar from all of the Thames Club supporters that sit in Remenham Club, Greg.
The Thames will be very proud of their performance, that they've got two crews racing here in the Wyfold Challenge Cup. The A crew, we can see them here, 32 strokes a minute. Again, they want to control this. It's again that thing where you sort of want the others to pack it in. It's a strongish headwind now. It's towards the end of the day. You've got more races to come in the competition. You don't really want to burn yourself out, but we just saw them there in the B crew. Simon Williamson in the bow seat, take that look over his right shoulder, tell his crew we're still in this. They're at 35 strokes a minute to the 32 of the A crew. Do they really want to stick in? Maybe even have another go at them?
Yeah, and you can just see, actually, if you look at this Thames A crew that we've got on the screen, they just hold the blade in to the finish for a little bit longer, which in the headwind, if you look, you can compare the blades side by side here. Look, the blade works just a little bit cleaner, a little bit longer, and they pin the finish in to get really leave the boat, and that makes such a huge difference, doesn't it?
Camilla, that's a lovely observation, that you can just see the difference between the A crew on the left, who just do hold the blade in the water just a little bit longer, whereas the B crew, it just comes a little bit loose. And so when it's a little bit loose, the boat's just not able to be levered past all the way quite as effectively. And in a headwind like this, it's probably that last third which is the most important. You can't afford to not finish those strokes off.
And hey, I think the finish sets up the whole stroke, right? You're a little bit off at the finish, you're not in time, you don't hold your blades in, and that affects your balance, that affects your timing. And again, looking at these crews left and right, you can see why the A crew is the A crew and the B crew is the B crew.
Yeah, they're both strong men in both boats. We've got, you know, big heights, big weights. But yeah, it's that technique which is just making a difference here for the A crew.
And look, you can just see the timing there and the boat setup that we were talking about, them pinning those finishes in the Thames A Club crew. From stroke to bow, Felix Rawlinson, Stephen Backus, James Reader and Ben right here, this quartet from Thames Rowing Club, who will look to progress, well, guaranteed to progress through to the Friday Thames, really, aren't they? Which is a great result for them.
Well, they call him Stephen Chew Backus in the middle of the boat there. Big, strong man, nearly 2 metres of him, and he's in there just levering it along. As you can imagine, he's a quiet man, occasionally sends out a little roar to the rest of the crew to say it's time to go. But here he is, just levering the boat down the course, sitting in the middle of that Thames A boat.
Yeah, they're just going to lift the rating up that little bit more in front of the enclosures, a little bit of showboating, keep it interesting for the crowds. But again, all the Thames fans will be extremely happy. Yeah,
it looks like the force is with the A crew today.
You always know how to make it funny, Greg. Off through the line, Thames Rowing Club A ahead of Thames B.